Hello, everybody. Welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Friday, the 18th of October, 2024. My name is Kerry Holzman. Thanks, you guys, so much for tuning in. And we got a quick message from our friend Mitch Morrison, who's traveling all throughout South America for the entire month of, the rest of this month and most of next month. And he just gave us a check-in here the other day. Let's just check in with Mitch and see where he's at and what he's doing.
Hello, Uncle Kerry and everyone in chat. This is your Uncle Mitch coming to you from Santiago, Chile. I'm taking a cable car from the top of a mountain down to the bottom. Very nice. You can see some mountains there in the background. A little bit of snow left on them, but really enjoying my trip. That building you see right there, that's the tallest building in Santiago. Went up there, had a beautiful view. And next stop, Cusco, Peru. And spend a couple of days there, and then I'll walk around Machu Picchu. So I'm looking forward to that. So we'll have other videos for you shortly. Bye.
Right on. Check that out. That is awesome. We certainly appreciate it when we get those little moments in his vacation that he thinks about us and makes us those little clips to kind of join him vicariously on his worldwide travels. Me, myself, I've never been to South America. I haven't really been anywhere. So I travel. That's the closest I get to traveling. Hopefully that'll change in the future. But for now, I will continue to look forward to those updates from our friend Mitch. Good to see he's having a good time. He's staying safe. And wow, that's what green looks like. Who knew? Let me make sure everybody can hear me okay. I did resynchronize my microphone. I understand there were some issues of static or scratchy noises. I don't know yet, but I can tell you that the wireless microphones are very, very susceptible to the environment that they're in. And so when I take everything from Studio A and move it to Studio B, the one thing I forgot to do was to resynchronize the microphones to scan the airwaves for a clean signal. I just assume there's not going to be any problem. And then after a while, it's been brought to my attention, and then I address it and I rescan. And then I just did the same thing at Studio C. I just brought the equipment over, fired it up. And I'm not sure if the scratchy noise is a hardware issue or a configuration issue. So we've started by simply rescanning the available frequencies, reassigning a new frequency and channel, and then everything else has been left alone, and you'll have to let me know if the audio oddities continue. You know, I could have a bad microphone cable, I could have a bad microphone pack. The cable that runs from the receiver into the camera could be bad, the socket in the camera could be bad, the receiver could be bad. I mean, there's so many variables. So we're going to start with the easy thing first. Also, of course, a quick shout out to our good friends Paul Gray there in Australia, Buster joining us from Scotland, Frankie B out of New York, and Oystein out of Norway. These are our super members. They are contributors here without whom we probably would have half the content this year and last year as a result of the declining financial sustainability of YouTube viewers just watching in exchange for ads. It's not working anymore, in case you've been out of the loop. Your views to watch free content in exchange for watching ads, too many ad blockers are in effect, and people aren't watching the ads or buying from the ads in such great quantities that the advertisers don't want to advertise anymore. They've considered the YouTube viewing audience to be not worth what they were paying. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't pay $10,000 to get $2,000 in business, right? That's not sustainable. That's what's happening universally across the entire platform. And as a result, they will advertise, but at a fraction of what they were paying YouTube. They're kind of in a position of negotiation where they're telling YouTube, here's what we're going to offer you, take it or leave it. YouTube doesn't have much choice but to take it. So YouTube is encouraging content creators to let go of that business model, and that if you want to be a regular full-time YouTube content creator, it's all about building communities, selling merchandise, and creating memberships. And so We don't do much in the way of selling merchandise here. I've never been one to really grasp onto that. We do have some mouse pads and little trinkets that we think we offer uniquely and differently than everybody else. We don't just sign up for a generic merchandise site and let them just brand everything. That's lazy, and I don't like it. So KerryHolzman.com or shop.KerryHolzman.com will get you to our site where we've got a handful of things available, and all the shipping and taxes are included, worldwide shipping, all at the same price. And then, of course, our memberships. That's the best way to support us here. If you see people in the chat with the gold badges next to their names, these are the members who make these videos happen. People who tune in and say, hey, you know, it's not fair, you're giving those people more attention. There'd be no attention to give to anybody. The videos would not exist without those individuals. So you can complain about what you have or not know what you're missing, right? If these videos weren't here and we weren't making them, how would you know? So the members absolutely deserve the recognition because they're the ones who make these videos. The quantity and the frequency that we make these videos and the variety of the subject matter is absolutely 100% because of our members. So we give them a shout out and we show them our gratitude every moment we have to make sure our free viewers at home understand who's paying for all of this. And it's not the old school, my view is your payment. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. I wish it did. In the meantime, I want to welcome a couple of new members. Speaking of which, let's see who we've got in here. Dwayne Hill just became a supporter. DB Reviews also just became a supporter. Right on, guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And also, as a member, you get access to our entire video library. Basically, a free viewer can watch up to 12 months of our videos. Once it goes beyond 12 months, it becomes members only. That's our archive. And the entire archive is available to all members. And there's other benefits as well, primarily being able to keep us making new content. And of course, there are special videos on Mondays that only members can watch. There have been occasions where we've edited pieces out and shared them with the public, but we've never shared a full members only video to the public. Never will. So if you want to be part of that smaller, more tight-knit community of paying supporters, where you have more of my attention and ear instead of competing against the public, those videos are a lot more informal, and there's information I can share there with members that I would not share publicly. So if you want to be a part of that community, you're welcome to it. We'd love to have you. There's plenty of room for growth there. And we thank each and every one of you for hanging out with us today. Speaking of which, Paul Gray just renewed his membership. He's now a member from Australia, now on his 9th month. Right on. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And, you know, we have some pretty good relationships with some manufacturers. There are some manufacturers I'd like to have good relationships with that don't want to have good relationships with me because they can't control it, right? If they send me a product, they being a manufacturer, and I tell them I'm going to review the product live, most companies are going to say, no way, no way. Well, that tells you what they think of their own product, right? If you know anything about me, I'm going to be honest about it. I'm going to try and find some flaws. I feel like if I don't find anything that can use improvement, I'm not done my job. But at the same time, they should have enough confidence to go ahead, Mr. I find flaws, find a flaw in this. And it's so rare that you find a company that truly believes in their product, or a marketing company that wants anything other than a paid advertisement. And too many reviews on YouTube, and I realize most of you probably are completely unaware of this, those are bought and paid for. The bigger the YouTube channel is, the more likely the positive review you're seeing is been paid for, or the YouTube content creator has a lot to risk. In other words, if one company keeps sending me product and I say something that just decimates the company on one product, what are the odds that company's ever going to send me anything again? So even if it's not a financial stake involved where cash is changing hands, there's still a real loss of content. And so it's not lightly that I tell you that when you see products on this channel, we achieve these products through one of two means. We either have a company that believes in their product and they believe in my honesty, that they're willing to put their product up to my tests. And they go, we're not paying you, but we'll send you the product for free. We're not telling you what to do, when to do, how to do it, nor do you need our approval. Do it however you want to, whenever you want to, and let us know so we can go watch it. That's what Minisforum does, and that's what we have here for you today. In other videos where companies don't respond to us, we get ghosted most of the time by most companies, or companies say, well, we'll do it, but we need to supervise it and approve it before you can show it to the public. We just go buy the product if we want to review it. Every TP-Link product you've ever seen on this channel, TP-Link will not work with us. So we're just buying their product. Every TP-Link product you've ever seen, we paid for. Now, I don't know why. As far as I know, we're on good terms. We have good things to say. We've shown them the reviews. They still won't work with us. So I think that, as long as we have the viewer support, the community support, that's irrelevant. If we want to review it, we go and we buy it and we review it. Now, when we're lucky and we work with a company that has a product we want to review, and they're willing to send us the product for free in exchange for said review, that's the best world that we could be in as far as the cost of content creation and the variety of content. Yesterday, this arrived in the mail. I've only had this one day. This is the new Minisforum 790S7, I think is what it's called. We're going to look up all the specs on this in just a minute. As a reminder, my videos are all live, unscripted, and unrehearsed. So there's frequent times where I can't find the words I'm looking for, or I get a number backwards, but we usually self-correct throughout that. And that's just part of the way people talk to each other informally. That's just what we try and do here as much as possible. Keep it real, no differently than how you talk to your friends. I'm not here to put on a game show. If you find entertainment from it, I think it's great. And if we go to dinner together and you find entertainment from that in real life, I think that's great too. So I just noticed we have a super chat from our friend Charlie Purdy here in the chat, saying hello, Carrie, Mara, and everyone in the chat. Right on. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for supporting the channel. Michael MacArthur renews his membership, now a member for 29 months. He says, hey, Carrie, Mara, and chat, happy Friday. Thanks, Michael. Happy Friday back to you. Hello to all our members joining in chat. And I see membership renewals from Charles Eslick, also a member for 29 months, saying, I love your content. Well, thank you, Charles. We love having you here. Garfield Rupe, now a member for 22 months, says, thank you, Carrie and Mara. The community's awesome. Agreed, the community is amazing. Andy Windridge with a €22 contribution. Right on. Thank you, Andy. Cheers. So what you say? It's a euro or pound. And Alan Lindas joining us here in Arizona. Says, hello, Carrie, Mara, and chat. Happy Friday. Here's my late fee of $7.77. And he's apologizing. No need to apologize. Thank you, Alan, as always. Nick Caffrey with €5 joining us from... Where's Nick joining us from? Can never remember. I don't know. We have a couple of different Nicks. Nick Poverman, Nick Caffrey. And I have to do a better job of remembering them, the differences between them. But I know with the Euro contribution, Nick joins us from somewhere in Europe. He says, hey, Carrie and Mara, happy to be hanging out with you. Nick's been a member a long time, so has Nick Poverman. I've got no excuse other than I'm old and can't remember anything. Rip City Raider renews his membership, now a member for 19 months. Says, hello, Carrie, Mara, and everyone in the chat. Hope you're all having a good Friday. Right on. Well, thank you again for that. Thank you for all your support. Now, yeah, there's Luke Greenius say hello. Mark Gaines says hello. Captain Blinsky, Shamim Kajviras. Welcome in, everybody. This Minisforum PC, can we talk about this? I was pretty excited about when I heard about this. If we go over to Minisforum's website, the 790S7 is what this is called. I want to show you the way this is being promoted by Minisforum, and then we'll just check it all in reality. Sometimes there are typographical errors or mistakes that are made. We've witnessed that before. When that happens, we let our friends at Minisforum know, and they always correct it, and they appreciate being made aware of it. Not too many other content creators do that. They won't even show you the website, or they don't really paying attention to it. Again, it's mostly, there's just a lot of advertisements disguised as reviews, and everything we do here is going to be completely transparent, as it always has been. So let me take you over to the website, the official website for this product. This product literally just came out. I don't even think it's all the versions of it are out yet. But let me go over to my window capture here. There it is. Okay. So we have an AMD version and an Intel version. And what we have in front of us is the AMD Ryzen 9 7940HX version of the 790S7. Now you'll see there is an Intel Core i9 12th gen that just came out, 12900HK. But do pay attention that that's only available in a bare bone right now. In other words, bare bones means you have to provide your own RAM, storage, and operating system. What Minisforum has sent us is essentially this unit right here. And you're going to say, wow, $939 is a lot of money. Well, over $300 of that is just this one part right here. That is a low-profile RTX 4060 OC. So you could buy that on your own. I think it's 320 bucks on Amazon plus sales tax. And if you subtract that, you're around 600 bucks for the rest of the computer, which is your motherboard, case, power supply, processor, cooler, RAM, storage, and operating system. To each their own, right? You want to do that, you can buy it without the RAM and storage and operating system or graphics card. And you're looking at, yeah, this should say it also does not include the GPU, at 460. Okay, and if you look, what are you getting, right? Besides the fact that we've got an RTX 4060 in here, what else do we have? Well, as you can see, this is a bit larger than a typical mini PC. This is what we call a 7-liter. They're measured by volume. So the smaller 1-liter PCs were like the veteran giveaways. These are 7 liters, and talks a little bit about you can support 3 screens at one time, higher frequency memory, DDR5, dual M.2 Gen 4 slots. Obviously, they've given us one M.2, and if we want to, we can add a second one. This is great for if you're somebody who is a creator, such as myself, and you need that extra power for like video editing, or if you're a gamer and you want the power of that 4060. There's not much more powerful that will fit in here that I'm aware of. That's a low profile card. So about as good as you're going to get in this form factor without going to an external eGPU dock. The GPU slot itself is a Gen 5 slot by 16. You're looking at a unit that's 3 3/4 inches wide, 8.6 inches long, and just under 1 foot or 12 inches tall. It's 16 cores and 32 threads at a 5.2 gigahertz turbo frequency, and it's Zen 4. Crystal Cinebench R23 numbers are represented here. They've already done the testing for us. There's your RTX 4060, and of course you still have the built-in graphics card in the APU. The CPU has an AMD Radeon 610M, in addition to having the 4060 OC, which is 8 gigs of RAM on that. Now, interestingly, it says dedicated graphics card not included, but it depends on the model you buy. A little bit more about the RAM here, up to 5200 megahertz, up to 64 gigs. Actually, I think these numbers are wrong. These look like numbers coming from DDR4. If this is in fact DDR5, it should support 2 modules of 48 for a total of 96. These are the kind of mistakes we're looking for. They're just a lot of copying and pasting going on over at Minisforum, which needs a little more proofreading, or I might have the information incorrectly. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. There is a 400 watt power supply in here. It's a small power supply, and we're going to show you the insides of this here. Again, you've got USB 3.2, HDMI 2.1, and DisplayPort 1.4. That's coming out of the main board, but then you've got a whole nother set of video outputs on the graphics card. So you can see here we've got our typical audio inputs that you'd have on a desktop, inputs and outputs, microphone input, line in and line out. We've got a couple USB 2s. We've got a single RJ45 Ethernet jack, 2.5 gig. We've got a reset switch that's recessed into the back for resetting the BIOS. You've got a USB 3.2 Type-C port right here. We've got our display port built in to the motherboard and HDMI built into the board. USB 3.2, there's 2 Type-A's, and of course this is your air ventilation here and your power supply up top. On the front, there's our power button, reset button. This is to reset the, if your computer were to lock up and you needed to shut it down and restart it, whereas this reset in the back is for clearing the BIOS, like an overclock that went bad. In most cases, you don't need to use either button these days, but they're still brought over from the old days. They still have them. I'm okay with it. I'd rather have it and not need it than the other way around. You've got a front port audio jack in addition to the ones in the back. That's for your headset, headphones, etc. You've got a USB Type-A, which is 3.2 Gen 1, and you've got a USB, it says 2.0 Type-C. I've never seen a USB 2.0 Type-C before. That's different. I'm not quite sure what the point of that is. But there you have your front accessibility ports for quick flash drive installations, and then your rear accessibility ports for things like printers and things, keyboards, mice that you would normally leave plugged in all the time. So they're showing some use case scenarios for this, which is pretty much everything. Everything from edge computing and business to gaming and Internet of Things, and all of it at the same time, quite frankly. This is a picture of the motherboard inside of it. There's your PCIe slot. Underneath this giant heatsink, there's your CPU. There's a fan that sits on top here that's all pre-installed. There's your 12-volt CPU power and your 24-pin main motherboard power. Fan headers, you know, all your standard components you typically see on motherboards, including 2 M.2 Gen 4 NVMe slots. And you'll notice how short the RAM sockets are. That's because they're using laptop-style RAM, just like a mini PC would use. They're SODIMM RAM slots, but just normal industry standard. The product is brand new. I think we are the very first to review this product, and we thank Minisforum so much for keeping our community in mind and prioritizing us with making sure that we get an early hands-on view before all of the regular commercial content creators grab it. And then over here on Amazon, you can buy the product from Amazon. You'll see here they have the Barebones version, and it looks like they want $569. There's a $114 off. For that amount of power, I mean, good luck putting something together that matches these specifications for the case, power supply, CPU, cooler. There is no Wi-Fi built into this, by the way. There's no USB 4 on this, just to be clear. Does say it supports 8K 60 Hertz. Again, we're talking about the built-in video, not when you add your own graphics card. That's subject to change depending on which graphics card you add. Thankfully, we got the version from Minisforum that includes the low-profile RTX 4060 overclock OC version. And probably not going to see any reviews on this. Like, this literally just came out. And I don't think the Intel version is out yet, but it should be coming out very soon. Although you're going to be 2 generations behind on the Intel version for some reason I don't quite understand. And apparently there's a different Amazon page for that, which we've got in the video notes. Please always be sure and check out our video descriptions. Mara works very hard to keep those accurate and up to date. And this is the unit right here in front of me. As you can see, it's a bit larger than a typical mini PC, but also a lot more better equipped. So let's take this over to the camera to give you a little bit of a close-up here. And there's the front of it. We've got some rubber feet on the bottom with air ventilation. On the back, there's our power supply. This is a long, skinny power supply that runs the length, so I don't know if that's a standard. I don't know how difficult that might be to replace in the future. Hopefully that's a standard. I just don't work with those kind of machines. We've got all the ports that we've already shown, and then these are all the ports. This is our RTX 4060 that's been installed, low profile card. And yes, you could theoretically use them both at the same time and have like 7 monitors hooked up to this thing at the same time if you really wanted to. Now, opening this up, we have 2 thumb screws here. Now, when this arrived yesterday, I was like a kid in a candy store. I took this out of the box, and the first thing I did was fire it up, make sure everything works. And it came with Windows 11 23H2, Windows 11 Pro. So you know me, I put 24H2 on it. You know me, it went on flawlessly. Ran it through all the Windows updates. AMD Adrenalin needed an update, obviously, just in the time it took them to ship it. 24H2 was released, and the Adrenalin software update was also released. What else did I do? Pretty much all the standard, initial setup stuff so we can get right to testing. So this is going to open up much like your desktop at home if you have a tower machine. And inside, let me bring this up to the camera and you can see nice and close in there. Here's our GeForce RTX 4060 there on the bottom. CPU cooler's there. Back there you can see the DDR5 SODIMM. We'd have to remove this panel to get to that. If you notice, there's an empty socket just above the fan, and that's for seating basically a laptop style Wi-Fi adapter. See these 2 holes? That's where you would screw in the connectors for antennas. They bolt onto this I/O shield. So if you wanted to add Wi-Fi that way, you just pop it in there. Otherwise, you could just get a USB Wi-Fi adapter and not even have to open the machine up at all. There's certainly enough room for you to go either way, internally or externally on this. So yeah, I was totally excited when I got this. What's also unusual, and I do want you to know, I do believe this is a prototype they sent me. In theory, what they're shipping is going to match this. There won't be any like CPU change, there won't be any major change, but usually if we're really early to review something, I want you to bear in mind that the unit we receive could be slightly different. And of course, if you have any concern about anything, always reach out to Minisforum before you order it, or order it from a site like Amazon where it's super easy to return within 30 days for any reason. If this product had been out for a while, or if we ordered it, then we definitely know what we're getting. When we get early reviews, I want to remind you, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, between the time we review it and the time the product is actually shipping, there can be minor tweaks. Like, I remember one year, one unit we got had a 1 gig Ethernet port when we were told it would have 2.5 gig. So usually for us, you usually get something better, is what I'm trying to say. And when I reached out and I said, hey, is this a mistake? Did you guys mean to say it was a 1 gig Ethernet and you said it was 2.5? They're like, no, it's 2.5. We made a change last minute at the factory. It was actually made more sense to put 2.5 gig on it. So the unit that I got was a pre-sale, or not pre-sale, but prototype model. And as soon as I'm aware of it, I let you guys know. And it doesn't happen very often. But anytime we get a unit this early, I do want you to know. We don't have much in the way of documentation. All we got in the box, besides the unit itself, was the power cable and whatever these manuals are, which don't seem to be of very much use for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in, we're going to fire it up, and we're going to show you what it looks and sounds like. And so to start with that, I need a power cable, which I have down here, and I need an HDMI cable, my keyboard and my mouse. Turn this on and turn this on. So this is kind of your every machine right here. You want a game? Game. You want to do work? Do work. You want to go Wi-Fi? Just add a Wi-Fi adapter, plug in USB. Do you want to do any content creation, video editing? This does it. I can't think of one single thing this cannot do under this configuration. So universally, this should be appealing to all people. In this price bracket, you couldn't build this cheaper. Nor do I believe could you find something that has the same parts or better for less money than this. And we're talking about a reputable manufacturer. We're not just ordering blindly off AliExpress, waiting 3 weeks and hoping for the best. This is a company that supports you. This is a company that has history. And even if they do sell this on AliExpress, you'd be so much better off ordering it direct from Minisforum or from Amazon, somewhere where you've got peace of mind for support and returns, that you don't. AliExpress is a garage sale. You buy it, goodbye. You're done. As soon as that cash hits my pockets, if I'm the one running the garage sale, no refunds, no returns, as is, never want to see you again. That's AliExpress. Now, let me find my Ethernet and my HDMI. It's over here. So HDMI, I got to remember when I'm plugging my HDMI in to plug it into the graphics card, because remember, we have the built-in video. It'll work either way, but if I want the performance of the graphics card, I need to go all the way to the bottom and plug HDMI in there, not in the middle. See people do this with their tower machines all the time. Where'd my performance go, Carrie? I don't know. Where'd you plug your monitor in? Right in the middle? No, it goes towards the bottom. Ethernet. There it is. Let's plug Ethernet in here. 2.5 gig Ethernet. And let's turn it this way so you can see it running. We'll turn on power. We get a little power light. We should see the fan spinning. And we're going to jump over here to camera 2 input. And that should give us, yeah, there's our power on self-test screen. And you'll get an idea of load time right now with 24H2 Windows 11 Pro. That was already configured and ready to rock here. With 23H2, again, we've upgraded it to 24H2. And what else? You can see I've run Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer on here. I put Crystal Disk Info on here, but I haven't run it yet. Usually, you're not going to get a rocket ship NVMe drive, a high-performance NVMe, because it's a waste of money for most people. But if you want to spend that money, you can certainly replace this one or add to it with the secondary M.2 slot. So we usually get about a mid-range Gen 4, which is somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 megabytes per second. So if we run Crystal Disk Mark on here, first thing we can do, we'll run all these tests and we'll see what numbers we get with the stock NVMe drive, which is all crucial RAM and a crucial P3 1 terabyte drive. So it's all name brand. 5,000. Okay, so 5,000 megabytes per second. Honestly, the fastest you can go on Gen 4 would be a little over 7,000, and that relates in real world terms to just a couple of milliseconds. You'd have to do some intense I/O to actually see any benefit, but to each their own. To each their own. I'm not here to tell you that you should only buy for common sense. You might buy for emotional reasons, or you might be quite a unique user and you have very unique needs. Whatever, the general population would not see any difference and would not need to spend the money. But it doesn't mean they don't want to. Now, let me come back over here to camera 1 if I can get my keyboard to respond. And let me put myself in a corner here. Bear with me for a second as I bring myself over here. And let me take a look here in the chat and see what you guys have to say while we wait for this test to complete. This thing, by the way, whisper quiet, but I will tell you, when you really start pushing its resources, like when Windows 24H2 was installing, you can hear that fan ramp up. As I mentioned, I like to hear the fan ramp up as long as it doesn't stay that way. That ensures to me the system is ramping up and slowing down. When the systems are too quiet, I get skeptical. Is it ramping up? I don't know. I just don't want it to run loud or even noticeably full time, right? If your fans are loud in your computer all the time, you've not configured it properly. So let's see where we got. Big storms here in Phoenix last night. Holy moly, did it rain. We're still overcast here. So if my video seems a little darker than normal, that's why. I will take the rain any day of the week. The car needed to be washed anyway. Also, it cools the weather down. It knocks all the dust out of the air, so our air quality gets better for a couple days. Gladly take the rain. Just interesting that I haven't seen rain in a couple of months, and I still haven't seen it. It all happened while I was asleep, and boy, did it come down. Wow. Marsman50 joins us from Coleman, Wisconsin. Welcome in, welcome in. Alan Linda says, Casa Grande, Arizona, got nothing. Yeah, Casa Grande's pretty far south from Phoenix, quite a distance. I'm not surprised because Phoenix itself is such a big city. It's quite possible one side of the city gets storm and rain, wind and rain, and then the other side of the city gets nothing. But I think this storm was pretty big. I think it pretty much covered all of Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty intense and long overdue. Ron Barnes joins us, says hello. Anthony Pete says hello. Spittoon wants to know, will this PC be good for music production? It's sort of like asking me, will this meal satisfy me? There is no one definition on how to produce music. So there's no Thunderbolt on this, which a lot of musicians would demand for all of their instruments and things to connect to. On the other hand, how you define music production is really your own definition. It doesn't follow my definition or anybody else's on the planet. So whether or not this will meet what you believe to be music production is really something you have to tell us. In general, you have all the power. Whether or not you've got the resources available to add in any high-end sound cards, clearly you can't do that. There's no spare PCIe slots unless you take the graphics card out. So I don't know how you're defining music production. In theory, music production can be done on a Windows 98 computer. For some people, that's true. For you, that may not be true. Unfortunately, because these are not regularly defined items other than how the individual themselves sees it in their head, and we can't see in your head, that's just a question nobody can answer for you unless they know you really well or they defined what music production is to you. It could be. As I said earlier, I think this machine is good for every task. But there's always going to be people out there that will say, not for me, it isn't. Okay? And what's your point? In other words, I'm not here to sell you the machine. I'm here to introduce it to you. If you believe that has value to you, I'm not here to twist your arm and convince you. And what you personally find valuable is your choice. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I think this is an amazing little computer. If I could put my 4-port capture card in here, this would be our new streamer. Unfortunately, the manufacturer that I use for our capture cards does not make a 4-port HDMI that fits into a low-profile bay. In fact, you couldn't get 4 HDMI ports in a low-profile bay. You'd have to use 2. I think Acasis makes one where they split one off onto a second slot, but I'd have to pull the graphics card to do that. So ideally, if we didn't already have the graphics card, that would have been fine, but I'm not going to pull a 4060 just to make a streaming computer. And we have a number of streaming computers, by the way. I just thought, man, we're this close. If I was only using one camera, I could just use a single input low profile capture card or a USB single input capture card externally. But we're using 4 camera input here, so we've got to have those 4 ports. And to do that, we need a full size slot, not these low profile slots. But it'll do it. There's nothing holding it back as far as the hardware goes. That is a physical design limitation from the manufacturer of the capture card. Shamim says, those are amazing specs. They are pretty incredible, aren't they? Let's see. Mick Wood says 56 degrees Fahrenheit here in London. That sounds like perfect weather. Mr. Ed says, Carrie, everyone talks about sequential read and write, but doesn't random read and write mean more for everyday use? No. So I don't know what everyone talks about. I can't tell you why somebody else does the testing the way they do it, nor do I care. What I care about is what is the fastest this drive could perform under ideal circumstances. Now, as a content creator, I primarily move big files. I'm not moving tiny files. When people talk about the importance of random 4K testing, that's important to them, it's not important to me. If random 4K testing is more representative of how you use your computer, then that would matter more to you. It doesn't matter to me because I am only interested in what is the best performance this drive can do under ideal circumstances, and anything else below that, anything else will be below that. It will never be better than the sequential read and write. So don't expect this drive to do 7,000. It won't do it. That's my interest, me personally. It's also of my personal interest not only to how I sell these devices to customers, but if your average user cares more about 4K I/O, I would also argue your average user doesn't know what that means, nor could your average user tell a difference. They can't tell a difference. People talk about a DRAM-less NVMe drive versus one that has some RAM on it. Most 90+% of the common computer owners that own a Windows-based computer cannot tell the difference. So if that matters to you, don't convince me it matters to me. Right? I go by my specifications and what's important to me. If that doesn't align with you, this may not be the right channel for you. However, you are absolutely encouraged to have your own experience. Instead of trying to predict what your experience is going to be and using that prediction based on what you see and hear to determine whether or not you're going to experience it in real life, is really just doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion. Nothing replaces your own personal experience. It doesn't matter what the numbers on the screen say. It doesn't matter what a salesman says. You have to have that experience, and you have to define it uniquely the way you do, just as I am uniquely defining it for me. The only difference between us is I share that online with the world. I'm not looking to appeal to you. I'm not looking for your approval, and I'm not looking to find out, apart from questions you have in the chat, which I'll do my best to answer, I'm not trying to customize and tailor my channel for any individual viewer. I'm making it for me on my values. So how other people do things, it has no impact on me. If other people did it the way I did it, I wouldn't need to do it. So I wouldn't be doing it. And if I did it the way they already were doing it, what's the point? So anyway, that's the logic I use as a content creator, is to simply make videos I want to see, and I hope to attract others who see the value of that, rather than pander and say to people, what do you want to see, as though I don't have any personal preferences of my own that matter, and you guys can all tell me what to do. If I'm going to do that, I might as well go sign a contract with a corporation and let them write scripts and tell me what to say and tell me what to review and tell me when to review it. Then they can write me a check, and I don't take responsibility for anything I said, because I'm not the one who wrote it, and those aren't my words. That's the difference between me and most content here on YouTube and the tech sector is, well, there are more real technicians sharing real personal experiences and on a scalable, held accountable, responsible, liable perspective. Then there still are a lot more enthusiasts that just do things for fun and they don't take any responsibility. So you can't hold them accountable. There's nothing you can do. If you prefer that, that's okay. I just don't. Everything has its place. Occasionally, I do like to watch some enthusiast videos. I just don't really learn from them in the sense. It's like, well, that's interesting in a form of entertainment, but it's not really interesting in the form of how can this make my business better or more profitable? And primarily, that's the angle I try and come from, is as a business owner, which you just don't hear from often enough in any business on YouTube. If I see a business owner on YouTube talking about running their business, whether it's Grumpy Plumber, who's retired now, but talks about running a plumbing business, very much the same as the computer business. If I'm listening to James, what's his name? He runs the septic system company in Georgia. Talks about being a business owner, running a septic and well maintenance company. We all have the same problems universally. We all have difficult clients. We all deal with frustrations with suppliers and costs and employees and advertising and marketing and paying the bills at the end of the month. And that's what makes the world go around. But most people who work self-employed for a living work twice as hard and certainly don't want to come home at the end of the day and make a video. It's just not worth it. So I'm a little twisted in that way. I've always had an interest in video production. I took video production in college. But at the same time, I also took automotive and computers. And the computer thing is the thing that turned out to be the opportunity for me. And then the cars and the video production became a side interest. And that's how it all played out. Mark Gaines with a 10-pound super chat. He says, time for a phone check, Carrie. Right on, Mark. Will do. Peter VZ joining us from the Netherlands with a €1 super chat. Thank you, Peter. And Frankie B's joining us there from New York. Welcome in, Frankie. You can see the screen. Those are our final numbers. And got to find my glasses. I haven't taken them out yet. We'll take a look here at the phone, and we'll get back to this machine here in just a moment. We have Luke Greenia with a PayPal contribution of $25. He says a little something, something. Right on. Thank you, Luke, our friend joining us from Vermont. An Amazon gift card from Mark Gaines for $50. Mark joins us from Northern Ireland. Right on. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Luke, for your contributions to the channel. And you know what? For just being my friend, for hanging out with us and being such fantastic members of this amazing community, which it might sound like, you know, pandering, but I truly very, very protective of this community. So if you don't believe me, hang out and you'll see. Now, getting back to this machine here, if we get back over to the desktop, I have to go full screen over here. We can pull up the specifications in System Properties. Right click on the Start menu. We'll go to System. And there you'll see the AMD Ryzen 9 7940HX with Radeon graphics. We're not using the Radeon graphics right now. They are active, we're just not plugged into them. Installed RAM, 32 gigs, 29.7 usable. That's because even though we're not using these, they still need memory. Whenever you buy a graphics card, it always talks about how much memory it comes with. But when a graphics card is built into a CPU, it has to borrow system RAM. So unless we go into the BIOS and disable this, meaning we cannot use it, that is an accurate number of what the video card needs that's built into the CPU, but it shares with our system RAM. Windows 11 Pro 24H2, and if we go to Device Manager, let me just close this right quick. Right click on the Start menu, Device Manager. You can see under Display, we're going to have two display adapters, the Radeon 610M and the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4060. So again, we're not going to have Thunderbolt on this. We're not going to have USB 4 on that. Look, we could add all this stuff, and we can make this thing $3,500. And the minute we do that, you appeal to a dozen people, and you've just turned off tens of thousands of people who say too much overkill. So the idea here is it's much like clothing. You decide what you think looks good on you or what you just like, regardless of how it looks on you, and you pick it in the color and the size and the material that you prefer. And if you want everything to be the most expensive material at all times, being sold in very exclusive high-end shopping places, they'll be glad to have your business. But when you want to appeal to the general public, you're going to be shopping at more common places like Walmart or, you know, somewhere that is going to offer a large variety, discounted prices with customer support, right? That When you're running a business, I'll give you an example. When I run my business, I could choose to be an exclusive technician for affluent customers located in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and other very expensive areas in the Phoenix area. And if you don't live in those areas, I don't want your business. I could very much be a personal tech liaison to local celebrities, news anchors. I could be the go-to guy that news could come to when they want advice on viruses and hacking and Windows. I could be that guy, but I don't go after that. I'm not interested in trying to impress anybody but those paying me. And the people who pay me, I want to make sure they feel they got a good value, that they're going to refer me, and they're going to come back the next time they need me, and they won't think of anybody else. That's how I run a sustainable business. I need to have a lot of customers and make a little bit from each one, rather than have a few customers and make a lot from each individual customer, which means if I lose one, it hurts more. You understand? Whether I lose them because something happened to them, they moved away, they passed away, they've changed their mind, they want to go to somebody else. Some of the most affluent customers I've had have been some of the most difficult customers. And I will also say that some of the cheapest customers I've had, those sourced from advertising on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp, they're worse. Because at least the affluent customer might be demanding and have high expectations, but at the end of the day, typically get paid and paid well. When marketing to residential customers overall, it's not a good sustainable business model, in my experience. You definitely want to work for smaller offices, real estate agents, accountants, lawyers, dentists, doctors. There's more than I can name. And of course, if you don't want to do the grind to go out there and sell yourself and knock on doors, get a job in corporate America. Lots and lots of IT jobs can give you, I don't know what we have for job security anymore, but they can certainly give you a regular salary with the potential of health benefits and vacation and sick time. And also, you know, you get the office politics and drama and nonsense that comes along with that as well. Water cooler talk. However, whichever one you prefer, it's entirely up to you. Or if you just like to just stay at home and tinker with your own equipment, that's all well and good too. So again, I'm just here to inform and try and provide information from which I hope is more complete than other channels, but also to encourage you to have your own experience. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but you'll never know what it's like to drive in a car by driving simulators. When I see airline pilots have these outrageous home airline simulator setups, flight simulator setups, there's no inertia in that. There's no gravity. There's no sense of motion. It's numb. It's like me trying to get you to smell something. Smell this. This is my smell simulator. There's no such thing. Or I want you to feel something. I want you to feel some pain. I want you to feel some fear. I want you to feel it like it's right in front of you and your fight or flight instinct kicks in. Cannot be done simulated. It's something that must be done in real. There's no way to do that any other way. So the internet and simulators are a bit like painkillers. They numb you to all of the sensation and all of the feelings. You can't burn yourself on a hot plate simulator. You can't taste a food simulator. You can't smell anything that would simulate smell on the computer. You've got no sense of inertia. You've got no sense of momentum. You've got no sense of falling, no sense of crashing. You don't bang your head up against your screen when you slam your simulated racing car into the wall. That's all well and good as candy. If you want to enjoy your candy, enjoy your candy. But if you want to eat candy all the time, I don't think it's good for you. Happy Halloween. All right. Let's see what do we got going on in the chat. Hey, there's Giadarne joining us. Yeah, now a member. It was over 24 months. I can't see the actual number, but he's over 2 years of membership. A member. He's got membership here for over 2 years. Good to see you, Giadarne. John Kennedy. I built John a computer. What did he say? He said in 2013. It's 11 years ago. He says, I used it for 8 years and never a problem. Well, now you know why I call them 8-year builds, right? You can go cheap and get by for today and, you know, maybe a couple of years. You can buy expensive and then take a big hit, depreciation, and maybe have stability issues all along. Or you go right down the big middle, which is your best bang for the buck. Have a nice rock solid computer that doesn't need any upgrades. It's just solid for 8 years and then time to replace it. Yeah, that's what keeps my customers happy. Viewers, on the other hand, they're not customers, so sometimes viewers have unrealistic expectations to meet whatever they think is normal, but it's only normal to them. It's not my normal. So I'm under no obligation to worry about whether or not they're satisfied because they aren't paying me. My customers, on the other hand, it's very critical they're satisfied, or I don't have a business to run. So people shouldn't take that personally. It's just, what can you afford to do and continue to do it indefinitely? How do you make it sustainable? And so worrying about what other people think when it has no financial or societal impact on your financial ability, to me, is a complete waste of time. I'm not learning how to golf just so I can hang out with big shots who golf and maybe that'll open a door for me. It's just not in who I am. If I like to golf, I'm going to golf. But I'm not going to do it just because I think that's a way for me to succeed. The only way I know to succeed is to work harder. Hey, Mitch Morrison's joining us. Is Mitch in Peru today? Where in the world is Mitch today? Apparently, wherever he is, he has internet access. Bill Sony says, Carrie, on your Amazon site, I got myself a portable USB air duster. It works great. It was 40 bucks. I got it for $24 on Amazon Prime Day last week, and I'm happy with it. I love those little USB air dusters. Those things are fantastic. You'll see me use them all the time here. Glad to hear you took advantage of the deal. Great price. I think I paid $60 for mine. Mitch is still in Santiago, Chile, heading to Costco? There's a Costco? Oh, Cusco. On Monday, I'll send a video from Machu Picchu in Peru, pretty high altitude. All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing that. Thanks for sharing your video earlier. And yeah, we're gonna travel with you. Appreciate you taking time out of your vacation time to think of us, and we'll keep, as Mitch sends them, we'll keep sharing them with you guys. You got a tour group with you. Don't get us lost. Craig Casabona with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Craig. Mitch is saying Chile is a wonderful place. Libya says in the United States Air Force, you need 80 sim hours before you can fly. As somebody who has briefly gone to flight school, I can tell you that there was no simulator, that you flew alongside a pilot, and that pilot would instruct you when you were allowed to grab the controls, what you were allowed to try and encouraged to try. Eventually, you were given enough trust to, it's sort of like driving, all right? So in the United States Air Force, you're not sitting in front of a screen. Likely you're sitting in a seat that moves and simulates inertia and gravity. That being said, you won't be allowed to fly alone. It's just no different than a surgeon. They're not going to have you simulate a surgery. You're going to be an intern and you're going to work with a experienced surgeon. Nothing ever replaces experience. That's not to say simulators don't have their place, but simulators are not a replacement for reality. At the end of the day, if that's all it took in the United States Air Force was to run a simulator and then you could just jump on a plane, there'd be a lot of crashed planes. It's a very different experience. But simulators can be tied in to help understand the instrumentation, right? But with regards to the real fear and the real inertia, momentum, and gravity that one feels in a real plane, the Air Force can afford those simulators that are hundreds of thousands of dollars where everything moves. But even that, you know, same with the space shuttle, they ran a simulator in that over and over and over again. but mostly to understand the instrumentation and the commands and the sequences. The proof was in the pudding with regards to landing. The space shuttle couldn't launch back up. You're falling like a brick, a very heavy brick, and you better get everything right because you can't circle back around and make a second. You got to do it right the first time. And the only way you're ever going to do that with any consequence is to do it. And you won't do it alone. You're going to be supervised and somebody's going to train you. Much like anything in life that has critical life or death, experience is irreplaceable. There's no substitute for it. But that's not to say simulators are completely worthless, but they're completely different in most cases. I'll make you a simulated dinner and you let me know how full you get. Ian Gooch with a 10-pound super chat says, Carrie, hello from London and everyone in the chat room. Hey, hello Ian, thanks for hanging out with us. Stan says some airlines do training in full motion simulators. Once again, that training is about learning the instrumentation, the proper communication, and the proper sequence of events that need to be followed. A lot of like emergency landing scenarios are presented, but then when an actual emergency happens, the pilot could panic and freeze. Certainly been scenarios where that training is paid off in reality when the training kicked in and allowed, a plane to come back safely that otherwise, without that training, the pilot wouldn't have not known what to do. But I can tell you, if you ask the pilot who landed that plane in an emergency how memorable that experience was compared to the one in the simulator, it's two very different things. But if you want to live your life in a simulator, you go for it. Don't let me stop you. But if you think that's a replacement for experience, there's no such thing. Let's see. Oh, so John Williams is asking about VIP CDK deals. I meant to mention this and I completely forgot. Something happened where VIP CDK deals was no longer accepting PayPal. And I had a number of viewers reach out to me and say, PayPal is the only way that I can pay. I don't have credit cards. So I talked to the folks at VIP CDK deals. They reassured me they were going to get it fixed. And there's been one delay after the other. So now we're using SCD keys. SCD keys is giving us the same or better pricing, same or better support, same 100% guarantee, and they take PayPal. I think they're even owned by the same parent company. So I'm not quite sure I understand that, but the important thing is I'm always looking after you guys. And so we gave VIP CDK time to address this, and they need more time. And we said we don't have any more time, So SCD keys will be the new home for Windows and Office keys. Same guarantee, same support, and the same or better pricing. In fact, we come up to the holiday season here. I expect everybody's going to have sales. If there's anything we talk about, SCD keys, Roboform, Acronis, Minisforum, I expect, this has been such a tough year financially for everybody. I think these companies are going to be pretty hungry to get your business and may offer some deep discounts. And I could be completely wrong, but should be a very interesting holiday season in that regard. So if there's something pricey you're thinking of buying, or there's something you want but you could wait, if you want to save some money, just a few weeks away, we should start seeing those sales. As I'm made aware of sales, whether I hear about it from you guys or I find it on my own, I will share that with you to benefit the community, not to benefit me. This is for you, if you guys want to take advantage of it. And like I said, if you find any deals that you think would benefit the community, please let us know in the comments below. But SCD keys from this point forward, and that's why. PayPal is back as a payment source. Yeah, I completely forgot to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up. Phil Stodd says, no one ever talks about the brave men and their fine simulators. He's almost a wartime hero if we were at war and if he actually flew. That's funny. Of course, it's very important here that, you know, we try and keep everything as authentic and genuine as possible. It's no surprise that I would be having the feelings I do about simulators. They do play an important role, but they're no replacement for experience and reality. Simulators are not reality, period. You know, I did a lot of simulation when I was 8 years old, and we played cops and robbers, and we used sticks as guns. But I'm an adult now, so I don't really do that nearly as often as I used to. I see it as a world of playing pretend. That's not to say that there's no benefit from it, but it is to say that no matter how good you get at a simulator, it is by no means a measure of how you're actually going to do it in reality. It just doesn't work that way. I'm not aware of any area of life where that holds true. And you can be as good in a simulator as possible and be absolute crap when it actually matters. Simulations don't actually matter in the means of getting anything done, but they can be a stepping stone on your way to getting experience. They can add to it. I mentioned learning instrumentation, learning the proper procedures, protocols, and then taking that, so you have to memorize it, so that when you're actually in a real world scenario where life and death is really at stake, you can exercise that without going, how do we do that? Where's the book? What page was that in? I got to read that. We've got 10 seconds before we crash. Let me go to the glossary. And yeah, and that way simulations do hold some value, but they're no replacement for experience. I encourage people to have experience. And if the simulator is what's preparing you for the experience, right on. But if you're never planning on having the experience and all you do is simulate all day, you know what? Don't let me get in your way. I got things to actually do in reality that have an impact on other people's lives. Otherwise, I can't see any reason why I'd get out of bed. But, you know, whether it's playing video games or some way to squander your precious time here on the planet in some form of entertainment, watching mindless television, in moderation, it's fine. It's just when people take it overboard and then they're so confident from their simulation skills that they think that applies to real life. It never, ever does. So set your expectations accordingly. Hi, I'm going to be your surgeon today. I'll be operating on you. Now, I've never operated on anybody before, but on that game operation, nobody can beat me. You going to let me operate on you? Hey, how come this patient's nose doesn't light up? This isn't the way I learned it. All right, let's see. Now, when it comes back to this machine, there is a, oh, hold on a minute, Patrick says, oh, all right. Yeah, you guys are talking about some of the downsides of simulation. So anyway, are there any questions about the 790S7 I can answer for you? Because lately, kind of feel like Minisforum's been surprising the heck out of me with things that they're not just an ordinary everyday mini PC. There's a lot of innovation happening over there, and I'm just trying to keep up with all of it. We still have their external GPU dock. We haven't even tested it yet. Now, we will get to that. Something like this you couldn't use. This doesn't have Thunderbolt or USB 4 or Oculink. That's not what this is for. But for somebody who's a content creator, for somebody who likes a fast PC, And for somebody that doesn't have a lot of money to spend, I don't think you can get more for any less money. The fact that this has a 4060 graphics card is so unusual. That's typically only found in pre-built machines that cost a lot more money. This is technically a pre-built machine, by the way, but I'm referring to like the pre-built gaming machines sold at Newegg and et cetera that you see advertised all over Facebook and Twitter. Those are very, very expensive. How Minisforum is making any profit, I don't even understand. I can't build this cheap. I couldn't even build it, let alone sell it for this price. So take that for whatever it's worth. Whether or not it aligns to what you need or what you value, I can't say. I'm just here to make the introduction, to make you aware this exists, because this might be something that solves a problem for you. Minisforum also has the new G7 Ti coming out, which we can't wait to get our hands on. That'll make this seem really inexpensive. It's pretty darn cool, though. Their whole Atom Man line of product are very high-end product designed for gaming, and at various levels. You know, you're looking at somewhere around an average of $1,000 to $1,500, but they're very, very high-end, top shelf. Minisforum also has budget machines and mid-range PCs. I don't think you can find a better value mid-range PC than the UM760 Slim. That thing has blown me out of the water. Just amazing how much value you get for the money. Another mini PC manufacturer reached out and asked me if I'd review an N305, which is a Celeron kind of an i3. That's only DDR4, it's only 12th gen, and it's only 16 gigs of RAM, and they want $370 for it. And I don't have the heart to tell them I can't offer that to my audience when they can get a Ryzen 5 with DDR5 with a modern processor that's that fast and more storage, not 512 gig of storage, but a terabyte of storage, and you're going to get it for a mid-range PC for $60 or $70 less than you want for your low-end PC. So I won't tell you who they are, but you just shop around and you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't know if they're disconnected from what their competitors are doing or if they're just hoping we don't know any better. But they reached out and said, hey, you want to review our PC? And when I saw the specs, I immediately wasn't interested. And then when I saw the price, I was insulted. Like, you must think I don't know what something's worth, or you must think my audience is too dumb to not know that this is well overpriced. You could get something far better. So when I'm bringing these items up to you, I encourage you, don't take my word for it. Shop around and find me a better value. If there's something that matches these specs, that video card, or better at a cheaper price, I want you to make me aware. Sincere, I'm not challenging you. I'm encouraging you. Help me. Because as far as I know, there's no competition for this. The same with the UM760 Slim. I don't see any competition at that price point where you can get something the same or better. Doesn't seem to exist in October of 2024. And if I'm wrong, please send me a link, because I'd love to see that deal. I'd love to see it. Now, whether or not that has any value to you, I can't say. But whether or not it's a value, absolutely. Prove me wrong. Mats Olof with a 100 Swedish krona contribution says, I hope this contribution works today. It did not work last time. Thank you, Mats Olof. Yes, that contribution seems to have worked just fine. Joining us from Sweden, right? Charlie Purley mentions a flash sale on Feijing SSD drives on Amazon. $89 for the 1 terabyte, $220 for the 4 terabyte. That's a great price. I've been very happy with the Feijing drives. I'll tell you a true story that just happened recently. A friend of the channel who has built his own computer and will reach out from time to time for a little help or some updates. Reached out and said, Windows 24H2 will not clean install without a blue screen. And he usually follows my videos. But in this case, he's made some decisions in the past that went against my advice. Buying a graphics card off eBay when I warned him not to, because he was trying to save money. Turns out the graphics card was the problem, and he had to go buy a new graphics card meaning he lost all the money on the sale at eBay. So for somebody who couldn't afford to do it right the first time, he found the money to do it twice. To each their own. We all learn the way we learn. I respect that. He didn't blame me for it. And now when his Windows 11 24H2 wouldn't install without a blue screen, I'm like, well, that shouldn't make any sense. All of his hardware is new. And come to find out, he's got a Western Digital SN770 solid state drive. Now, I've never recommended, I don't think I've ever used a Western Digital SN770. I don't know where he got the idea that he should buy that. He's always pretty good at following the advice they offer. But look, you're welcome to make your own decisions, but don't blame me. Not that he was. But when you have problems, you need help. You probably wouldn't have had those problems if you would have followed what I do in my business. So whatever circumstances led him to that drive, that's what he had. Now, well, all of the Windows 11 24H2 issues I've found are not production issues, right? There's some security changes that I need to address. The Windows recall people have feelings about, but easily addressed, but nothing that causes production to stop, like you're working in a Word document and you lose the whole thing. Nothing serious, until this was brought to my attention. It turns out everything that's been brought to my attention thus far is the problem of the manufacturer of the device or the software, not from Microsoft. For whatever reason, Western Digital makes two drives that require a firmware update, or they can cause crashes in Windows 11 24H2. This is not an update or a fix coming from Microsoft to address your Western Digital drive. This is a fix from Western Digital. So there's a firmware update. That shocks me to actually see something blue screen on Windows 11 24H2. That's a result of a firmware update from such a large, reputable manufacturer. So if you would have asked me, would it be okay to buy a Western Digital SN770? I probably would have said, it's Western Digital, I'm sure it'd probably be fine. So you can imagine how surprised I was when an article at PCGamer.com talked about a new update from Western Digital that's critical to anybody that wants to run Windows 24H2. If you're using the Western Digital SN770, and there's another one, and you need to update the firmware and it fixes the problem. Every problem I've seen from Windows 11 24H2, the resolution's coming from the software manufacturer or the hardware manufacturer, not from Microsoft. So that should tell you something right there. Anyway, if you have a Western Digital SN770, be aware that there is a firmware update available, and very strange. And other manufacturers of drives that are built in a similar way as the Western Digital SN770 aren't having this problem. It's very, very much a Western Digital issue. At least that's what we know so far. That information could be subject to change as the information matures, but that's what we know today. And Mara says she's put details in the video notes below the video. As always, thank you, Mara. John Williams said 24H2 was offered to him automatically through Windows Update today. Yeah, it will eventually be offered to you. It could be towards the end of the year before your turn comes up, or it could be today, or you can force it. Either way, you can choose to adopt it or not. Bill Sony said I had a problem with 24H2 when I plugged in a Seagate USB. I got a message that was not normal, so I went back to 23H2. I decided to wait for the update. So again, you could be waiting for the update that has nothing to do with Microsoft. So if you have a Western Digital SN770 drive, I don't think you're ever going to get that fixed waiting for the update. That fix has to come from Western Digital. So if you have a machine that is Windows 11 compliant, but it is crashing on 24H2, you probably have a driver that's incompatible that has to come from the manufacturer, probably. The way you'd know this is to do a clean install of 24H2. The way I do it is I would use a Acronis Trimage to make an image of the machine before I begin. Then I wipe the drive clean, install Windows 24H2 from scratch, and see if the problem still exists. If the problem does still exist, then I just simply restore my backup to go back to the previous version. If it solves the problem, then I know something's wrong with my computer. I just didn't know I was sick, right? It's no different than having an undiagnosed condition and you go to the hospital for something else. And while you're in the hospital, they say, you know, how long have you been diabetic? I'm not diabetic. Oh, yes, you are. So there you have a pre-existing condition you didn't know was there. So does that mean because you didn't know it, you were never sick? If your computer's crashing as a result of 24H2, very likely something's wrong with it. And it could be software, it could be hardware. And likely the fix is not coming from Microsoft. You know, Epic Games has this anti-cheat thing. Microsoft is aware of that. Likely that fix is going to end up coming from Epic Games. I'm going to project that. I might be wrong. I don't think Windows Update is going to fix that, other than Epic Games is going to provide Microsoft the fix. And Microsoft will test it. And if it passes all of Microsoft tests, then it will be added to their update. But I don't think it's a solution from Microsoft. I am pretty critical of Microsoft. So for me to take this stance, historically, has never really happened before. Everything I'm seeing in my own personal experience with 24H2, it just works. I was over at Studio A yesterday. I upgraded another PC is it the Cooler Master N100? No problems. I've never seen a problem with 24H2 other than that one viewer that reached out with the SN770 Western Digital. And I'm glad he did, because otherwise it would just be conjecture. But now I know for a fact that's real. And again, the fix came from Western Digital. The fix did not come from Microsoft. So take that for whatever it's worth. With regards to the machine we have here, the 790S7 from Minisforum, does anybody have any questions or concern about this that I can address or can point you in a direction to? Luke Greenia says, I just want you to know how super happy I am with the Project Zero build. I'm so glad I got it. Also, the Ace Magic TK11's been a solid performer as well, and both have been running 24H2 flawlessly. Yeah, well, you don't hear people complain about something that works. So you're going to only hear from people that are having an issue, and most of those people, in my experience, created their own problem. They put some program on, downloaded something, made some registry change, and they don't even remember doing it. Could have been 2 years ago. Now they're suffering a consequence, and now they're saying, oh, stay away from Windows 24H2. Now, if you want to listen to those people, go right ahead. But if you have an experience, positive or negative, with 24H2 that you'd like to share and you'd like assistance with, our community here, plenty of helpful folks here that will be glad to reach out and help see that through. And if you're a member here, you can get personal one-on-one support from me through our email address. How do you reach us? Our email address, I'll put that up on the screen here. We haven't done that in a while. It's right there. Let me get rid of camera one just so you can see the white text on a black background. Turn that off and turn that off. That's our email address if you want to reach out. We always encourage folks to reach out to us, especially our members, if they need any help or assistance. And that's how you reach us. Okay. And I'm going to remove that, but you can always go back and freeze frame that if you didn't have enough time to write it down. Anna Linda says he's still running his boss game AMD Mini PC, and he's very happy with it as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, they simply don't believe how powerful these mini PCs are. And then they get one and they're blown away. So you can show it all day on the internet, and until people get one in their hands, they really don't comprehend just how little and how quiet and how powerful they are. That's another thing where, you know, experience, it almost always has the same response, which is people are overwhelmingly very positive about it. You're always going to have some people that have a negative experience. whether they expected too much, they're difficult to please, or something happened in shipping that damaged their machine, or they had some kind of a power spike, or they just got a bad unit. That does happen. But so long as the company responds and is supporting their product, that's the thing that's most important to me. Now, whether or not a person is being reasonable, that's their choice. But I can tell you the vast majority of people are overwhelmingly positive once they experience a mini PC. But I will also tell you the vast majority of people are quite skeptical that there's any way that they should even consider a mini PC. And that's the difference experience makes. It speaks for itself. Phil Stodd says, by the time most people are offered 23H2, Western Digital should have proper firmware updates. Well, Phil, the updates are already there, but they don't spoon feed you. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to know, and I'm not quite sure how you're going to get that update. The only way I'm aware of, whether now or 5 years from now, is you have to take the initiative to download the Western Digital Drive software and to learn to use it to check for updates and apply those updates. They will not be delivered to you. They will not cater to you. They never have. It's never been an option, and I don't think they're going to start tomorrow. So whether you apply that firmware update today or a year and a half from now, I don't think Western Digital, unless you're signed up on some kind of an alert newsletter from them, most people will remain ignorant of it. They just won't know, and the fix will forever be broken. You know, the machine, the firmware won't get updated because customers don't know to do that, and it's nothing that's being offered through when you can't do an SSD update through a firmware. You can't do an SSD firmware update through Windows updates. At least you've never been able to. You can get some BIOS updates, but I do not believe there's ever been an SSD firmware update through Windows Update. You either will replace that drive and chalk it up to a bad drive because you don't know any better, or you will, Google it, or someone will raise your awareness to it. But the firmware update is already there. It's not going to be there anymore tomorrow or 6 months from now. It's already there now. So, FYI. Phil Stodd said, I am proactive and I check. Right on, Phil, and I love to hear that. I wish everybody did. Unfortunately, you represent a very small percentage of computer owners, but most people are reactive. They don't have time and they don't care. Until it affects them, suddenly they find the time and suddenly they care. So, there you go. Set your expectations accordingly. Just looking to see if there are any questions that I have missed on the 790S7. If so, please ask your question again. I haven't seen it. If you have other questions for me, this will be the time to ask. We're about an hour and a half into today's video. We will absolutely need to wrap this up on time today. Unfortunately, I do have another appointment, but my intention is not to take any time away from you guys. We try to do a 2-hour show. Quite often we go over. Today that won't be possible. So if you're on the fence about asking, I suggest you hurry up and make a decision because we're almost out of time. Marsman wants to know where the spaceship build is. The spaceship build is likely in our archive. Any video that's older than 12 months goes into the archive, and you would need a membership to access any video that's 12 months older requires a membership to help support us. Any video that you see, like today's video, this video will be unavailable to all but members this time next year. And we're trying to find other benefits that members have apart from dedicated Monday shows only for members. Access to the video archive and access to me personally for any help or support. I think it's a lot that we're offering in exchange. Remember, these videos would not exist without the members, and if all the memberships go away, this whole channel will likely go away. So it's just where we're at right now. It's not anything I want to do. It's just trying to keep the lights on, and we're trying to make sure that we don't have to remove all these videos and take all this content down because we can't afford to keep it up. Unfortunately, you know, if you look at a lot of YouTube channels in 2024, we said goodbye to a lot of our friends. I sure do miss the guys at Tech Deal, Tech and Deals, or Tech and Rogue. Go look at their content. Most of it's gone now. It's very sad. So it's really up to you guys to decide if we're going to continue on a regular basis or if these become more infrequent videos. It's also up to you guys to decide if you want something more, if what we're offering isn't enough, that you give something to us in exchange and we'll give you back more. So that's why I say, you know, for people that said, I like your free content, I want more of it, but I'm not willing to pay for it. On the one hand, you're saying it has value. On the other hand, you're saying it doesn't have any value. So we're not really doing anything other than what we have to do to try to continue making the variety and frequency of videos that we do without selling out to some corporate sponsorship that will control what we say and do. And then it won't be me anymore. It'll be me reading somebody else's writing. And I don't want to do, I'd rather just shut the channel down. We're not close to that right now. Everything's good right now. Our members have really pulled through for us. I hope we can get back to an advertising model that works, but in my life, I haven't really seen things go backwards. Usually once we cross that bridge, there's no turning around. So how it evolves in the future will probably be very strongly based on our community, and our community will determine our fate. If everybody just wants to take without giving, the well will be dry. If people want to return and give back, every little bit matters. And it's not in my control, it's in your hands. And Bill mentions the economy is hard right now for all of us. It absolutely is, and we totally understand why some people cannot contribute financially to support the channel, but at the same time, they also shouldn't be asking for any more. In other words, if what we've given you isn't enough, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know what to say. Sorry, I didn't give you enough. But yeah, it's because of those members and contributors that we're even able to continue on since, well, pretty much since the first of the year. Things got really sour. We knew it was going to get sour. It got worse. It's been getting gradually worse. Views across YouTube are down universally on every channel, on every single channel, except a few exceptions. They're losing viewers. The normal amount of views we get, and everybody's getting. I don't know where everybody went, but they're occupying their time some other way. Also, interests are changing. People interested in building computers isn't what it used to be. There are still people interested, but it's about half of what it used to be. Where did those people go? Why did they change? I don't know. It's a mystery. So we continue to do what we enjoy, and if it means it becomes a more, what's the word I want? Acquired taste, so be it. So long as we can sustain, we're good to go. William Denton says, how can we contribute? Well, basically, you know, being here and being a part of the community is a major part, right? The community is very important, probably the most important thing. But contributions, the key way is through our memberships. Second way would be through Amazon gift cards or through PayPal contributions, or even using our links that take you to Amazon. If you're purchasing anything from Amazon, using our links, even if it's a link to something you're not purchasing, but that link takes you to Amazon. Anything you purchase on that Amazon visit, we make a small commission from. We don't know who you are or where you are. All we know is what was purchased at what price on what day, so Amazon can calculate how much money they owe us for the commission. Nothing's different for you. Your price is the same, your shipping's the same. It's really just a very easy, simple way to get the things you were going to get off Amazon anyway and anonymously support the channel. Now, clearly those commissions are very tiny, but when you have as many viewers as we have, those little tiny things add up quickly. And if it's making no difference to you as far as what you're paying and when you're getting it, obviously I don't know who you are. So unless you tell me, I don't know you did that. But that's an anonymous way to support the channel. When we're doing videos that cost, like today's, this is a $1,000 unit. This is one video out of probably 20 videos we make this month. If every video is $1,000 on the table, that's $20,000 a month. We're not pulling in $20,000 a month. We're not even pulling in a quarter of that. So we require some other way to make ends meet. The only way this happened is because the unit was sent to us for free for review. But as I mentioned, we will, when finances allow, make purchases of things like the TP-Link Deco. We paid for that with the contributions from our viewers, and we use it in studio to help bring you this content every time we're live. We're depending on that. And we also use that as content to review it and to live with it daily and see how it's adding up. That's a $1,300 router. So what we can do is based on what we have the finances to do. And I don't want to turn this channel into, that's all he talks about. But the fact is, unless you're the one paying for it, unless you're the one offering to send us this unit at your cost or send us this at your cost, I'm not quite sure you're fully understanding just how much somebody sacrificed, whether it's myself, whether it's Minisforum, whether it's TP-Link, who believed it was worth it to give you this information. And if you find that of value, we hope that you will support us so we can continue in that endeavor with bigger and bigger projects. It's not working that way. The projects are getting smaller and smaller, but we still have plenty to show. We still have a lot of content to cover, and not everything costs as much money. I can show Windows networking, and it's showing how to install Windows 24H2. We've already got everything to do that. I can sit here and read the news to you. A lot of tech channels that used to show builds and used to show gadgets, now all they do is read the news. News that you could read yourself and get it a lot sooner. But for whatever reason, people want it spoon-fed to them. That's fine if that's your choice. Really, I will mention news items, but I don't think I want to do bedtime stories to people who can't be bothered to click on links and read the news themselves. That, to me, just, I'd rather do something more fulfilling for me personally than read people stories that they could go read themselves. But that's just me. I'm not saying anybody who does that is wrong. It's just not what I want to do. Peter with a €2 super chat. He says, here's for the support. Thank you, Peter. And thank you for all your support, as always. 3D Everything says, here's $10 in super chat, my humble contribution, Carrie and Marlena. We do see a lot of contributions coming from the same people over and over. And I'm just trying to encourage people who haven't contributed, who see value in our content, to find it in some way that helps support us. You can't tell me it's not worth supporting and still be here watching it. It's got to be one or the other. And how much we're able to create and share with you, it's got to get paid for somehow. Try it sometime. If any of you would like to review a 790S7, I'd love to see your video. Please share a link for me. I'm not sending you the unit, but if you can figure out how to pay for it and get the camera equipment and the microphone and do all the editing and titling and description and thumbnail and upload it, I would love to watch your content. Please share a link. I'm not saying it sarcastically, genuinely and sincerely. And then if you'd like to do that 20 more times every single month, I will happily promote your channel and encourage people to go watch you. Ask Planet Cryos. Ask Mike's Unboxing, Reviews, and How-To. Ask Live Windows Training with Doug Betts. Ask Salem Techsperts. Greg Salazar. These are all folks that are doing it. They're doing a great job. They are not my competitor. They're part of the tech community of which I am proud to be a part of. There's also another part of the tech community I want nothing to do with, okay? But certainly for people that are actually doing something, I appreciate the effort. Even if the content doesn't align with me, I respect they put themselves out there and they put the effort in, because most people don't. But that's the reality. And you know what? It'll be great. It'll be great when I don't have to talk about this anymore. I've got big projects I want to do, and there's no way, given our current trajectory for this last year, we're ever going to do those projects. Well, we are seeing generosity from many viewers. The vast majority give us nothing. Because of that, we are limited in the scope of the projects that we want to do. We can't finance it. Or we have to sell out to a corporation that's going to tell us how to do it, and I won't do it that way. So then I won't do it at all. That's all. We'll do something else. That's fine. As long as we can do it, we're going to do it. But if you're wondering why there's certain content we've never shown, you don't have to wonder why. These are the challenges we face, which if you have tried doing this, I think you'd realize, holy cow, this is challenging. But I enjoy it. I enjoy your company, and the community, as I mentioned, is the most important thing. Even if we had zero money to work with, I'd still want to make a video at least once a month just for the community, even if it meant I had to work full time to make sure the bills get paid. I would always find time at least once a month to continue making content. So I don't anticipate any need to shut the channel down. It's just the frequency and variety with which we make the videos. And who knows, maybe everything turns around in 2025 and we're in a situation of, rather than scrimping, maybe we're in a situation of abundance for once. I'm very open to that idea. So it really just kind of depends on opportunities that may be presented to us that align with our values from potential corporate sponsors that allow us to work in the style I want to work in and are willing to see, to finance it where we don't have to depend on the audience. On the other hand, by depending on the audience, I'm not biased. Somebody hasn't bought my opinion. So, that may not matter to everybody, but to somebody like me, I want to know what motivated that content creator, either negatively or positively on a review. Were they paid from a competitor or from the source? Or, why did they do it? Because most people are not content creators. What motivates somebody to become one? They just want to get famous. I just want to be an influencer. What do you want to influence? I don't care. I just want to be an influencer. No, there's got to have a deeper meaning than that for me. Dustin Fuller with a $2 super chat says, great show as always, Carrie and Marlena. So I've been stalling, waiting for any questions to come in on the Minisforum 790S7. You guys have no questions about it? It's pretty clear what you're getting for the money here. William Denton says the tidbit today about the Western Digital 770 probably saved me a minimum of $100 worth of aggravation. I'll send that through Amazon in a minute. Well, that's very kind of you, William. Our viewer Richard is the one that brought this to my attention. And Richard actually had his thumb on the issue in a Reddit discussion, and he asked me, do you think this is true? And I said, I don't know if it's true or not. This could be just people talking on Reddit. I don't know. And then within another 36 hours, the article was published in PC Gamer, officially verifying the problem and solution and Western Digital's acknowledgement. Sometimes you just need to be a little patient. Sometimes people are looking for a solution that doesn't exist and they don't want to wait a day or two. Strongly encourage people to be patient when solving problems rather than, going the extreme method of a nuke and repave or whatever, unless you're running a business and time is of the essence. In Richard's case, it was really just wanting to get it fixed. There was nothing he was ever going to be able to fix other than replacing the drive or waiting for the solution, and the solution came within 36 hours. So just patience, we get there. Once we verify it, we know it's true, it's not conjecture, it's valid, then I share it with you guys. Of course, I have to be made aware of it, right? So, yeah. Again, I never recommended the SN770. I don't know why any of you have it. It's not like you got the idea from me. It's not my fault. Though I would think a Western Digital drive would be a safe purchase. Dodged a bullet on that one, I suppose. None of my customers have Western Digital 770s. I don't think we've ever featured one on this channel ever, because it just wasn't worth it. It was not a good value, at least in my opinion. It'd be different if I recommended the drive and then you guys bought them and then you had these problems. I'd feel responsible for that. William Denton said, I have the drive for some reason, but I've not used it as of yet. 24H2 has worked fine on my two PCs. Well, as long as you're not booting from the drive, you're probably fine. I think it's only if you're booting from the 770. There's also another Western Digital. It's the 770 and the, let's see, it's a PC Gamer article. Bring it up and share it with you if you want to read more about it. Basically, just go to Google. That's what I'm going to do. Type in PC Gamer Western Digital 770 24H2. That should bring up the article. So I see articles coming from other sites, but what I'm looking for is specifically from PC Gamer, and that did not bring up the search I wanted. So maybe instead of WD770, I need to call it an SN770. Yep, and the first link is PC Gamer. And screen share that with you guys right now. Right there should do it. Owners of certain Western Digital SSDs have been greeted with constant blue screens of death. Thanks to Nick Evanson for writing and researching this article, researching this topic to write the article. This time the fault is very specific, but also very annoying, concerns the SN770 and SN580. And if you scroll down, from what Western Digital solid-state drive owners have been saying, it would seem that the Western Digital black SN770 and blue SN580 stick to a maximum HMB size of 60. I don't care about why. There's some question as to whether editing the registry should work, but that's not a recommended thing because you could have potential consequences in the months or years ahead from doing registry entry changes that are not supported by the company. The best thing you can do is do it the way we would do it in corporate America, which this would not be a corporate America. And we would not do this in corporate IT. We'd risk the whole company if we did something like that. Where's the fix? The SSD's firmware doesn't like this figure and results in the errors. The 24H2 update is slowly being rolled out at the moment, so not everyone has the choice to install it yet through automatic updates. But if you do own a Western Digital SN770 or SN580, I strongly recommend you wait until Western Digital releases a new firmware fix. Hold on a minute, I thought this was about the firmware fix. Did I click on the wrong link? This was published when? October 15th, 3 days ago. Let me run back over here, take another look, see if I clicked on the right one. I swear this talked about the Western Digital firmware update. This is what happens when you're live and I didn't have the link ready to go. Let me try a different one. Let's try Western Digital firmware update SN770. That ought to take us right to the source of the matter here. Okay, this is probably where we should have gone to begin with, which is sandisk.com, which Western Digital owns. And best to hear it right from the manufacturer. There's a piece of software called the Western Digital Dashboard that you can run if you have a Western Digital solid-state drive. And you're going to need this piece of software to search for and apply any firmware updates. So if we look for step to check drive for errors, warranty, download and install and update firmware. There's an online install and an offline. So the dashboard looks like it's 111 megs of a download, 3.4 megs if you download the installer and let it download the files from the internet as it installs. Update firmware. And then it goes through this whole process. Does it say what our latest firmware version is? These are the steps, but it doesn't look like you can download the firmware update by itself. It looks like you have to download the Western Digital dashboard and it's going to check for you. It doesn't give you any other way to sort of look on your own. So it looks like they've kind of walled it off in this way to prevent people from either taking apart their firmware and causing problems or preventing users from putting in the wrong firmware on their drives. So I can't see what the latest version is. We can see the article was updated on the 15th of October. So that right there is probably our clue that the update was released and there is a firmware update. I swear it was in that article though. Okay, usually the one who the fix comes from is the one who's to blame for the problem, usually. All right, let's go back to chat room. And yeah, I think it'll wrap it up for today. I don't see any other questions on the 790S7. Is there any Generation 2 USB on 770? You're referring to this? The USB ports on this are here at the Minisforum website that we went over a little earlier. I'm assuming that's what you're asking about, not the 770 Western Digital. And if I bring up this page right here, and I can share that screen with you, these are all of the ports on the 790S7. In addition, we also have ports on the RTX 4060 that does not show it's installed on this screen here. And again, you can visit the website using the links below, or you can freeze frame that if you need to take your time and if we're going a little too quickly for you. And again, if there's other questions, you know, let's see. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. Would this be ideal for a home theater PC? You don't need much for a home theater PC. It's like asking, will this Ferrari be enough to get my kids to school? It'll do it, but it's probably very expensive and far more capable than just simply taking the kids to school. Yes, you can use it for that purpose, but you could also spend a third of the amount of money or less to get a machine that could do home theater PC. Ross Monty says, I've heard 24H2 is being paused because of some of the problems. There are some people that have known issues with their computer or software, where 24H2 is paused for them, but 24H2 is not paused for the general public. Again, if you have any proof or evidence that Microsoft has officially paused the update, I have to assume you've misunderstood what you read, or you're doing it intentionally, but that is not factual. It's partially factual in the sense that there's a very small minority of people where they'll have to wait because of an issue with their computer or software. But overall, the wide majority are having no problems installing 24H2. So they're not pausing it for 90% of Windows 11 users, probably more than 90% of Windows 11 users. There's just a very small minority of users that it's being paused. Mr. Ed said there's a Tom's Hardware article regarding the fix for Windows 11 24H2. Users are strongly advised to update their SSD firmware. Yeah, maybe I got them confused. You know, maybe it was a Tom's Hardware article that actually is what I'm remembering. But regardless, you would still download the Western Digital dashboard if you don't already have it, and then check and see if a new firmware update is available. It's what I like about the Samsung Magician software is it does this for you automatically. Western Digital, you have to know to get that software. It does not come with the drive. You have to know that it exists, how to get it, and how to use it. And we've not covered that here because, well, we might have covered it once in passing, but it's not a very common thing. And we've never really had any reason to, quite honestly. It wasn't that important. In this scenario, with that specific model of drive, with this specific model of Windows 11, I'm sure it doesn't affect very many people overall, but if it affects you, that's all you care about, right? So there you go. Rip City Raider said, I just installed 24H2 just fine. Yeah. I'd be surprised if it didn't install correctly for you. Install Windows 24H2 installing just fine. 9 times out of 10 is, if you ask 10 people who did it, 9 of them or more are going to say that worked. It's just that 1 out of 10 that's having a problem. And even that's too high of a percentage. It's probably more like 93 times out of 100. At least based on all the information I have. I've never seen 24H2 fail. I've never seen it. So give it enough time. I'm sure I'll eventually see it. And when I do, I'll be happy to share it with you live on camera. I can't make it fail. I've tried. It will not fail for me. I've not installed it on 2 of the same machines. Every machine's been different. Every machine succeeds. I am trying to get it to fail. I cannot. Just say it. If we can get it to fail, I'd be happy to show you. William Lynn says, what will you do if Microsoft makes Windows a subscription? That will never happen. Microsoft, it would not, let me rephrase. I can't imagine Microsoft would make such a foolish decision. That is just the imagination of end users. There has been, I'm sure, some corporate internal in-house discussions about the viability of it, and it all ends negatively. It's the beginning of the end for Microsoft if they do that. So when and if you hear of a date that Microsoft plans on starting a subscription, you might as well ask me, what am I going to do when a comet drops from space and crashes into the city of Phoenix? Where am I going to move and how am I going to survive? That's how far-fetched that idea is. It does not exist in reality. It only exists in your minds. When and if it ever becomes a viable reality, I'll be happy to give you an answer. But you might as well ask me, what do I do if the ghosts in the Ghostbusters movies come to life? It seems very unlikely, and it would be a very poor business decision. I think that would be the beginning of the end for Windows and an opportunity for a competitor like Google to step in and fill the Windows gap. You have to remember that a lot of corporations rely on Microsoft Windows. End users don't matter much to Microsoft. There's no money in consumers. The money is in corporations. So if Microsoft were to charge these corporations a fee that no longer made Windows a viable solution in their profit of their business, the business would have no choice but to go to an alternative operating system and that would affect 80% of Microsoft's revenue. The consumers only make up a very small percentage of Microsoft's revenue, so it's just not, consumers are kind of getting the scraps, basically. But that's the way it's always been, at least since corporate America started embracing computers, which has been quite a long time now. Just as a technician, I advise you, if you're looking to stay in business, don't try and get consumers as your business model. You're gonna starve. You need to work for business. Businesses will keep you busy, they pay you on time, and whether you go work for the business directly or you're self-employed and have a contract to maintain a business, there's always work, and it's critical work. It's not, I'm annoyed, it's we cannot run the business without these computers working. There's a lot more at stake, including how much you're worth. So anything based on a consumer, apart from a grocery store or something like that. The point I'm trying to make when it comes to technology, overall, generally speaking, not talking about Xboxes and PlayStations, when it comes to computers, 80% of the market is in business. It's the way it's always been. As far back as, geez, I started professionally in 1991, and the market was primarily education. It was colleges and scientific study. It was never strong on the consumer side, except for the the Timex Sinclair and the Atari and the Commodore. Those were all consumer toys. But yeah, there was some discussion Microsoft had about what's the viability. It's like Logitech CEO mentioning, having a subscription-based mouse. It's never going to happen. Well, I cannot say it's never going to happen, but it would probably be the beginning of the end for that company if they did it. I don't know that they could survive the backlash to that. So I wouldn't waste any brain energy even thinking about that. Sean Flynn said he had issues updating the 24H2, but when he did a clean install, it worked fine. So yeah, you likely had an incompatible driver or some piece of software or some change you made that you've forgotten about. That's usually what causes that. So that's why it's important to be able to do that clean install to verify if you have a U problem or if you have a computer problem. If it's a computer problem, you're still going to have the problem after a clean install. If you resolve the problem with a clean install, that means something you put on your computer caused your problem. Now that doesn't say you did anything wrong. It could be an out-of-date driver you've not kept up. It could be a piece of software you tried and forgot about and you never took it off, or you did take it off but it didn't come off completely. Something you did caused the problem versus something wrong with the hardware. And again, it's not to point fingers, it's to make sense out of it. So at least if we can identify, do we have a hardware problem or do we have a software problem? That helps us solve the problem, regardless of who or what's to blame. All I care about is how we get there and why it makes sense. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for us for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, for your participation, for your contributions, your membership, your friendship, your kindness. Thank you to Minisforum for allowing us to review the 790S7, if I can remember the name, and of course to Mara for all the background work she does. And she wants me to check my phone. Oh, I should always do that before the end of a show. Thank you for reminding me. Our friends at Acronis and RoboForm and at SCD Keys, we want to thank them for offering you guys 30% off. They do that just for you guys here as a benefit to just being a viewer. You don't have to give anything. It's just there if you want to save some money. It's up to you. I'm not twisting your arm. You want to use the coupon or don't, or you don't want to buy the product. They all have trials so you can evaluate the product on your own. I use it in my business. That's why I encourage you to evaluate it for yourself. William Denton with a $100 Amazon gift card, just like he said, right on. Thank you, William. Thank you for supporting the channel. Paul Gray, our friend in Australia, also with a $100 Amazon gift card. He goes, here, this will pay for the RGB for Mara's Intel 15th Gen upgrade. Thank you, Paul. We still have to finish. We'll do that on Monday. We're going to bring the big build up from Mara, which is the 14900K build. Is that a 14900K? And then we're going to bring, once we're finished with it, we're going to get the Apache helicopter she's using now. We're going to gut that. It's a 10900K. And the Intel 15th Gen should be out on the 24th. They're already reviewing the early reviewers are getting media kits from ASUS, for example, on the 890 series chipsets. The 15th Gen chips have not yet been released. I believe they're released on the 24th. And I think AMD is releasing some new chips on the 25th just to give Intel the finger. To like, you go first. So when the chips come out, and then, they're going to be hard to get at first. So we'll probably give it a couple weeks. Maybe around this time next month, we should have a 15th Gen Intel build for you to upgrade the Apache with. And we'll see how it goes. And it's your contributions that make those possible. And of course, Mara needs the computer to do the thumbnails and some of the video editing and all of the work that she does behind the scenes, which is a ton of work keeping this channel running on the administrative side, which I personally despise. And she seems to like it, so all the power to her. Our friend Gia Darnay with an Amazon gift card of $75. Wow, we got a lot of super chats and contributions today. He goes, use this for parts needed. I enjoy watching your live stream. Take care, my friend. Well, thank you, Gia Darnay. Talked to him the other day. It'd been a while. And yeah, some of you I get the benefit of actually speaking to and getting to know. Thanks again to Luke Greenian for his Amazon gift card, and to Mark Gaines as well for his $50 Amazon gift card. And our friend Buster, who's always very generous, our friend Frankie B, and our friend Oystein. These are our super members, along with Paul Gray, who've just shown an enormous amount of generosity and support, without whom, well, we just wouldn't have a lot of the content we have because of these gentlemen, and also because of you. Because quite frankly, if you weren't here, who are we making the content for? So thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being a part of the community. If you are watching the video after it airs live and you have not participated in our chat room, you're missing half the experience. We would love to see you in our chat room. Pop in and just say hello on a live video. Even if you're normally not very social, you're more than welcome here at all times. I promise you, everybody is kind. If you say hello, you will get a hello back. And if you smack somebody, you're going to get smacked back. So this is very much a place of you get what you give. If you give kindness, I promise you will receive kindness. It's that simple. And if you want to be a jerk, you're going to get jerkiness in response. You decide what you want. And then I hope it's kindness. And if it is, please, please hang out with us in the chat, even if for no other reason to say hello. We'd love to have you. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a safe weekend. I will see you all very, very soon. Members only Mondays. Every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's going to change because Pacific time will wind their clocks back an hour. November 2nd. But for now, we're still at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, members only every Monday. Hope to see you then. Until next time, bye for now.